the Neighborhoods Recreation and Parks public hearing on Community Relations Commission code changes. Purpose of today's hearing is to consider proposed code changes to Title 23, Chapter 2331, to transition the Community Relations Commission to an advisory body as advised by the Columbus City Attorney's Office, to create bona fide occupational qualifications for specific occupations in order to align with federal guidelines, and to introduce best practices advised by the City Attorney's Office in order to promote administrative efficiency. We'll begin with introductions of council and staff. I'm Councilmember Nancy Day Acauer, the Chair of Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks. My colleague.
Hello, everyone. Christopher White, Vice Chair for Recreation, Neighborhood, and Parks.
And city staff.
Good evening. I'm Todd Diefendorfer, Interim Director of the Department of Neighborhoods.
And I'm Robert Tobias with the City Attorney's Office General Counsel Section.
Thank you all, and we also welcome our guest speakers this evening from the public. We'll now hear a presentation on the proposed changes from our interim director and from Pedro Mejia, who is online.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. Appreciate this opportunity this evening to speak about Ordinance 1440-2024 that will make changes to the Columbus City Code relating to the Community Relations Commission. I'll talk a little bit about the important work of the Community Relations Commission. As mentioned, I'm Todd Diefendorfer, Interim Director of the department. And you hear from myself, Pedro Mejia, who's our investigator. Also have Robert Tobias with us from City Attorney's Office, who serves as legal counsel for the Department of Neighborhoods and the Community Relations Commission. And our chair, Chris Kozad, will also speak later as well. The Community Relations Commission, which is part of the Department of Neighborhoods, is the official civil rights enforcement agency for the City of Columbus. Created by Columbus City Code 139, the Commission enforces various sections of the city's non-discrimination code found in Chapter 2331. The proposed amendments to Section 2331 will enhance the work of the Commission by allowing a more representative Commission, creating bona fide occupational qualifications, and introducing additional administrative efficiencies. The primary element of this code change is to transition the Commission into an advisory body. This is something that the Commission has been for 27 of its last 30 years. The Commission's status as an advisory body changed in 2021 when a code change was passed that enacted civil penalties as a potential option for the Commission should they determine that discrimination occurred. Prior to this change, the only option available for the Commission was to recommend a potential criminal prosecution by the City Attorney's Office. This is something that was rarely done because of the high burden of proof required in that situation. While the new option for a civil penalty was a victory for Columbus residents, adding additional levels of additional opportunities to hold people accountable should discrimination occur, it did yield one unanticipated consequence as it relates to the recruitment of our Community Relations Commission members. The 2021 code change caused the Commission to no longer be a purely advisory body because they had the final say in terms of issuing the civil penalty. That change made them a public official and under the Ohio ethics law. Created some different standards there, and as a result, limited who was interested to serve on the Commission. With this code change, we will ensure that a civil penalty remains an option, and also make sure that we have a commission comprised of diverse individuals who have the knowledge and lived experience to help us work through complaints when they are filed with the Commission. Now I'd like to turn it over to Pedro Mejia to talk in a little greater detail about the proposed code change.
Hi, everybody. Get just a thumbs up from anybody, so I'm not talking to myself. Cool. Thank you, Director Diefendorfer. My name is Pedro Mejia. I serve as the investigator for the Community Relations Commission and have done so for the previous 6 years. And during this time, I have supported the Commission administratively to ensure that Columbus residents have access to high-quality services that address unlawful discrimination. In Columbus, it is illegal to treat an individual differently in relation to their housing, employment, at a place of public accommodation, because that individual is a member of a protected class. The protected classes include race, color, religion, sex, national origin, ancestry, age, disability, military status, and familial status, sexual orientation, and gender identity or expression. Some of the most common complaints that we receive include situations where individuals feel as though they were fired or disciplined at work due to their race or sexual orientation, and individuals who feel like their lease agreement is being enforced differently by their landlord because of their race or disability. But certainly we receive complaints on the basis of all the protected classes. I just wanted to share an example of some of our most common complaints that we receive. Complaints are considered jurisdictional when the alleged incident occurred within the last 6 months, took place within the city of Columbus, occurred in a protected area, those areas being housing, employment, and public accommodation, and because the different treatment was alleged to have occurred because someone belongs in a protected class. That can get kind of tricky. So in general, if someone feels like they've been treated differently, we encourage them to reach out to the commission for more information or to file a complaint. Providing assistance to someone whose complaint may not be jurisdictional is part of the services that the CRC offers to the community. The complaints are then investigated by a Department of Neighborhood staff member, the role that I hold, and are reviewed by commissioners when the investigation is complete. This follows the lines of a basic administrative investigation, and that investigation can include the collection of statements, interviews, collection of various records such as emails or personnel files, site visits, and ultimately the analysis and creation of an investigatory report. Once the investigation is complete, commissioners will vote on a resolution. So that's members of the Community Relations Commission will receive the investigatory report and vote on the outcome of the complaint. And currently there are 3 major outcomes for the complaints. One can be the dismissal of the complaint for various reasons, such as lack of return contact from the complainant or no probable cause determination, essentially a lack of evidence to substantiate the claims. The issuance of a civil penalty, which is something that Director Diefendorfer talked about earlier, if the commission believes that it is more probable than not that the city's non-discrimination ordinance was violated. And that third option that existed for many years and still does is we always still have the opportunity for the commissioners to recommend that the city attorney's office review the case file for potential criminal charges. Currently, it is commission members who make a final decision through the voting. And the proposed changes that we're here to discuss today would alter the section of the procedure to a recommendation to the director of the Department of Neighborhoods. Currently, the commission is made up of 15 volunteer members of the community who are intended to be representative of the diversity of the Columbus population, but also provide insight into the 12 protected classes of the Columbus City Code that I referenced earlier. The body meets bi-monthly to conduct business, such as discussing ongoing community challenges, planning educational events, and reviewing and taking action on complaints of discrimination. As has been mentioned earlier, I have witnessed operational challenges to the commission as a result of commission members being considered public officials. That summarizes the Community Relations Commission procedure as it relates to membership and how membership relates to voting and representation. But in addition to this main change, a recent analysis of the city's non-discrimination ordinance occurred by the city attorney's office and demonstrated that it would be beneficial if the city's ordinance contained language that, consistent with federal law, allows for bona fide occupational qualifications for certain jobs. Bona fide occupational qualifications are often called BFOQs and are a long accepted practice that allows employers to legally require an employee to meet certain requirements when it's necessary to complete the functions of a job. Very important to note here is that as part of the language that has been proposed, the individual seeking a BFOQ would have to apply for that with the Ohio Civil Rights Commission, and that would have to be approved before this BFOQ could take place. So this is just a way of making sure that the language here at the City of Columbus reflects best practices at different levels of the legislature. And lastly, the City Attorney's Office highlighted for us new best practice for the ordinance in which there is a fees for ordinances in which there are fee schedules involved. So rather than the fee schedule be defined in the city code itself, which understandably is difficult to alter, the fee schedule for the Community Relations Commission would come to exist in its administrative rules. So the commission has the obligation to pass its own rules of how functioning and operations of the commission occurs, and that fee schedule would simply live there in place of the city code. So that's a quick summary of the changes. I thank you for the opportunity to share more information about the Community Relations Commission investigation procedure, and I hope this has helped explain more about the operations of the commission and how the proposed changes would positively benefit the commission.
Thank you, Peter. Do you have anything more to add to that, Deputy or Interim Director?
No, I think that covered it. So glad to take any questions you might have.
Okay, well, I'll start with my colleague here. Do you have questions?
Yeah, I got a couple, but just to kind of kick things off, and just so we're clear, how will this code change affect just the day-to-day operations of the commission, if any?
Really. Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you for the question. Really, this will not alter the day-to-day operations at all. We still will have the benefit of the commissioners. First have the benefit of Pedro's excellent work working through the case with both parties, have the benefit of the commissioners' insight as they review, provide their guidance, and then ultimately kind of the same end results will come out of that. So we'll keep working in the same way.
Yeah, appreciate that. It just seemed like cleaning it up neatly so that they can continue to do that amazing work to kind of support community members who are in trouble. One other question I did want to ask is, can you just speak to some of the positive outcomes that residents may have from interacting with the Community Relations Commission, for those who are not unfamiliar with going through that process and the outcomes that come from it?
Sure, I appreciate that. And actually, if I can, I'll defer that to Pedro. He's our expert and works with residents every day.
Sure, thank you for the question, Councilmember Weich. I will say that discrimination is very confusing and difficult for the resident to work through when they've experienced something. And I often share my experience as an investigator by sharing that not a lot of us are thinking about discrimination before it happens in our lives. Discrimination is also addressed at many different levels, which complicates it further. And what we offer at the Community Relations Commission is a local, more approachable way to get assistance with your complaint. So we talk to many individuals who their complaint may not be jurisdictional. For instance, complaints against the police are non-jurisdictional with the Community Relations Commission. But if for some reason the Columbus resident happens to come to the Community Relations Commission first, we can help them through that process and get them to the right spot. So a lot of what we're also doing is making referrals to other agencies, and not only just locally, but at the state and federal level. So when might a person prefer to speak to the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, or the Ohio Civil Rights Commission, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, all who have different timelines, all who have different protected classes and complaint procedures? We have become experts at the local level of sharing those differences. I also think that people just enjoy to be heard after a tough situation, and many folks never end up filing a complaint with the Community Relations Commission, which is obviously their decision to make. We do remind folks at the beginning of, talking to us that we, throughout the investigation process, are a neutral third party in the complaint. So we're not necessarily an advocate for either side. We're purely fact finders. But at that upfront stage before a complaint's been filed, we find a lot of success in providing support to the resident just by making sure that they know that somebody at the city is here to listen to their situation and help them with either our complaint process or anybody else's complaint process to the extent that we can.
Thank you for that. As someone who receives a lot of complaints and people speaking about issues that are concerning to them, it is very true. They do want to be heard. They want that opportunity to kind of share that information. And if we're able to refer them to the right place, all the more better for folks to kind of continue to reach out. So I have others, but I'll defer to the chair for a couple questions.
Well, your comments there just make me wonder. So how do people find out about the commission and the services that it offers so that people know that they have a place that they can go?
I appreciate that, Chair. Appreciate that question. We have a web presence, and through Pedro's multiple hats that he wears, has helped to ensure that when folks search discrimination in Columbus, we are one of the top results that pop up. So that's one of the ways as people are searching around. With the support of City Council last year and this year, we've had the opportunity to engage with a firm to help us market the work of the commission. So boosting our social media presence. We're also doing a couple of events this year as ways to look at national origin and gender identity. Go deeply on those. So just a few of the ways that we help to lift up the work in the community, and appreciate the opportunity for this hearing as well as another way to do that.
So would you like to share why representation of protected classes on the commission is so important?
I appreciate that question, and that's really why we want to make sure, that's why this code change is so important. And with 15 members on the commission, we want to make sure that there is that lived experience really covering all of the areas of focus for the commission. And having the opportunity to be at commission meetings and just the rich discussion that we have, as issues are brought up, people being able to talk about personal experience, professional experience, it really provides for that deeper understanding as you're looking at an issue and trying to determine what's a good way forward. Commissioners are also an excellent resource for Pedro as residents come to him with questions, and just a sounding board to identify potential resources and other ways that we can be helpful.
Thank you. More questions?
Yeah, can you just speak to some of the challenge the commission faces in accepting and investigating complaints of discrimination?
Sure, glad to. I'd like to turn that over to Pedro.
Yeah, I think education. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Weich. I think that, like I mentioned before, a lot of folks are not thinking about discrimination at the workplace or by their landlord until they feel like it's already happened. So as part of our educational series, what we try to do is educate the community about steps you can take at your job or at a place like public accommodation or with your landlord to start simply documenting things. Even if it's a simple voice memo to yourself, if it's making sure that you send notice to your landlord about something in writing, sending things by certified mail, saving emails. These are all things that are helpful throughout the investigation process and oftentimes are simply unavailable once a complaint has been filed. So it's a difficult position to be in as an investigator when you inform an individual that their complaint has been dismissed for no probable cause, and letting them know that it simply means that there wasn't evidence to prove that it occurred. So I think general education about what you can do to prevent these situations is one of the biggest challenges. To the previous question, we have seen greater interest in the commission overall. Just folks getting in touch with us year to year continues to increase and improve. And through our Rise Up C-Bus events, we're talking to 50, 60 people at each one of those events. So we're trying to address these difficulties. I would say that's the biggest one. The other part is that protected classes tend to have members of the public in those protected classes who are facing additional challenges in life and oftentimes find themselves in multiple protected classes. So with national origin protected class, you may have individuals who have limited English proficiency, and as a result of that, don't have the tools, as easy access to the tools to advocate for themselves as somebody who might have fluent English proficiency. So these are also some of the reasons that understanding each of the protected classes for the investigator and for the commission is very important, because those lived experiences can help explain why somebody finds themselves in a situation and can potentially help us help that individual either through the investigation process or other types of advocacy.
Thank you. How do the services that are offered by the City of Columbus in relation to discrimination against protected classes compare with our sister cities in Ohio?
Thank you for that question. The residents in Columbus are fortunate that through our I guess, informal research, we believe Pedro and having our full-time investigator here is the only city in Ohio that has that full-time person focused on this work. So good to have this resource available, whenever people call. The other thing, in Pride, I guess we are in Pride Month, so important to note, while the state does not have protections in place for members of the LGBTQ community, we do here in Columbus. So that's an important thing. We also have protections. We also have protections here for those who choose to wear natural hairstyles. The Crown Act is part of what we do. For individuals who choose to exercise their reproductive rights, there are protections in the code. We are also the source for the working with City Council around the salary history. So not quite the traditional lane of discrimination protection, but we also provide that service as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. Does my colleague have any other questions? No? Well, we will then open up for public comments. Our public comments are limited to 3 minutes. And when you come forward, please state your name and the organization that you represent. And so first we will call up Chris Kozad.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair Day Akauer and Vice Chair Weich, for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Kozad, and I am a member of the Community Relations Commission, and I also serve as the chair of the commission at this time. I've been on the commission over 20 years, and I've been chair for a little over 5. I think this is my, 3rd or 4th code change. So. But I'm also a lifelong advocate. As a member of various protected classes, I personally can speak to what the commission gives to Columbus residents like me, a way to recognize and address discrimination. And the educational and community outreach components of the Community Relations Commission work to help inform residents about discrimination, how to prevent it, and how to seek help. During my years on the commission, I have seen how CRC helps Columbus residents by giving them a helping hand to guide them through this process and assessing their options when they find themselves in these unfortunate situations, whether that is best served by CRC or perhaps at the state level or the federal level. Discrimination is challenging, and often residents are confused, unequipped, and don't know how to file complaints or pursue their rights. And that's where services for the commission are truly helpful. we can really reach out and help residents approach us. We are much more user-friendly than either the state or the federal organizations that do similar kinds of work. Columbus, as Director Diefenderfer just referenced, also provides explicit protections for the LGBTQ plus community through sexual orientation, gender identity protected classes. These are not available in many other cities. To look at your question about how we compare to other cities in Columbus, certainly it's not available at the state level. So often for our LGBTQ residents, the city's the only thing they have. And so that's really vital. I have been, like I said, involved in code changes a number of times, including back in 2008 when we added gender identity and expression to the code. These proposed changes are in line with previous efforts, and I fully support them. We want to maintain as comprehensive a non-discrimination ordinance as we possibly can, and I applaud the spirit with which City Council, the Department of Neighborhoods, the City Attorney's Office, and the Commission have all worked to ensure that Columbus residents continue to be benefited by this kind of protection. In the last few months since we did the first version of the code change and discovered the challenges around ethics, is that time? Yep, I'm out of time. Okay, but anyway, we discovered this glitch was affecting our ability to recruit and retain commissioners who've been in service to the commission for many years. And so this transition back to an advisory body is not a challenge for us. In fact, we're asking for it because it does expand our pool of candidates to serve as commissioners. So thank you for your time, and I hope that you will consider this code change favorably. Thank you.
Thank you for your insight. It helps to hear from the actual commissioner about how these code changes impact your ability to do your job. So thank you so much. And our second speaker is Ramani Hunter.
Hello, how are you? Chair and Vice Chair, good to see you again. I come on the other lens of the code change. I'm unfamiliar with the commission. And so although I support the discrimination and process and due process and investigation, I'm unfamiliar with what the commission and how it serves our community. So definitely enjoy hearing about the education and would definitely love to receive more information. I'm here to talk of the equity and although it may not fit in discrimination, the geographic zone and how our, the community that we serve, and I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself, I'm Ramani Hunter, Executive Director of Kingdom Image Arts. The community that we serve, it may fit in discrimination. I'm here as an advocate for the summer youth programming. Originally, we were set to serve 100 kids. I have a sheet full of kids that are African American that cannot afford my very low $125 a week per camp, and they receive breakfast, lunch, 2 snacks, and field trips because we did not have the access in our geographic zone, and no one in our geographic zone, shouldn't say no one because that's strong, but out of the list that you serve, only one camp that serves 1 week out of a 10 summer week was able to receive the funding in our zone. So although you may not have discrimination in the geographic zone, I do ask for transparency with the commission. We'll formally submit a request with the commission because all of these kids, I've had parents call me for the past 2 weeks, and out of integrity we were able to still serve kids at our cost. So we're doing it in kind, and I had to limit my camp to just the 10 kids because our geographic zone was disqualified or wasn't served, or however we want to classify the discrimination. But I do ask for transparency. I also have printed the application to say that we have fit everything that you asked for our partners. We deal with kids that have justice involved past. We deal with how to deal with conflict. We have a mental health component that all of our program managers are qualified as mental health specialists to deal with traumatic situations. However, for our geographic zone, we're challenged because I'll fit it into discrimination. We're challenged and we don't have those resources. So I encourage the commission to educate us of how we can fulfill and expand our knowledge with what the area commission does, or not area commission, I'm sorry, the commission advisory council does. Thank you.
We'll have someone from Department of Neighborhoods who can discuss with you how it is determined who gets what funding and stuff, so that you can understand the metrics and whatnot that's involved. So we have your email. Okay, great. We will make sure to make that connection for you. Thank you. Deputy, or you're now interim director. I keep learning your new title. Do you have any further remarks that you would like to make after hearing our public testimony there?
I confer. Thank you. Thank you, council member. I sometimes forget my title as well in this interim period. Just confirmed with council, I'm in good shape. So we've covered everything. Appreciate your time and your support of this ordinance.
Yeah. Any other closing remarks from your department or the city attorney's office?
Good. We're good. Thank you.
Yeah. Pedro, would you like to add any closing remarks?
No, thank you for everybody, your time.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and providing information and perspective on this proposed code change. It's clearly from listening to a member of the commission and the information provided by Pedro that this code change will be positive and will help the commission continue to do its work and provides more opportunity for more commissioners to participate. Would my colleague like to offer any closing remarks?
Yeah, just briefly, Chair. One, appreciate you and your staff for organizing tonight. I've always been a big proponent of transparency in government, so having these committee hearings where residents can come out and hear about code changes that is being proposed to council and can provide their thoughts and feedback is extremely important. And as it relates to this issue specifically, at a time when protected classes seem to be under attack at the state and federal level, the city seems to be the only place for resolution and support. So I applaud the work of the Department of Neighborhoods. And I hope this transition, if it is passed by council, gives the commission the flexibility necessary to continue to serve the community. So appreciate all of your hard work, as well as Pedro for his work as well, kind of working with community members. It's so greatly needed and so important. And in the month of Pride, it's just a prime example of why we as a city should be that shining light and support system for residents who need that support. So thank you.
It's a shame that we have such need for that, but unfortunately there is. And we really thank the commission for the hard work that you do, Chris. It's really impactful to our community. If we have no other remarks or comments, then I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.